Hi, in this video we're going to cover negotiation with your supplier. And what you want to remember is it's not a win-lose proposition where if you get the price down really low, you win and they lose. There's other factors here as well, because you want a good quality product, you want it from a reliable supplier, you want decent lead times. If the lead times are too long, it's going to destroy your business too by being out of stock if you can't get stock back in quickly. You also want a good relationship with your supplier. It's not all about you demanding things and them supplying you. It's a long-term partnership if you really want to grow your business. So the number one rule for negotiation is to have options. Imagine I go onto Alibaba, I ask two factories to quote a product. It's a stapler and an office stapler, just the ones you have on your desk, and I get a price of $2 from one and a price of $3 from the other. By choosing supplier A, I'm basically saving 33% on the price of supplier B because they're $2 versus $3. So what if I contact 10, 20, 50, 100 factories? That's why I recommend contacting every single factory you can find on the different websites, and I'll cover those in a second, to get as many quotes as you can back for your product. Because instantly, by getting say 20 quotes back, you might have several suppliers on the low end of the price and several suppliers on the high end of the price. This is also negotiation. I consider it negotiation by having these options from different suppliers. You're saying no to the expensive one, and I'll talk more with the ones that are cheaper. So 20 prices come back in from $1 to $15 for the same item, and you choose the 5 lowest ones. The key then is to get samples of the product and make sure that the quality is good enough. There's no point negotiating back and forth, lowering the price right down, but then find that the actual sample and the quality of the product is no good. So before doing any of the detailed back and forth on pricing, try to get as many samples from as many of the different factories as possible. You can get them all sent to one location, all the samples packed together and then shipped out to you to save cost. Whatever way you do it, you want the samples in front of you and you want to know who they came from. And then from the 20 factories that quoted, maybe only 3 of those have decent quality samples. So those are the ones that you'll then talk further with. And their prices can vary massively, but ignore the initial price because oftentimes it doesn't really have that much meaning based on my experience. So where can you find all of these suppliers? There's lots of videos out there on sourcing. We have videos on sourcing too. Alibaba, Global Sources, thomasnet.com. Go onto these sites, create accounts with a new email account separate to your day-to-day email account, because otherwise you'll get spammed with all of this stuff, and contact as many suppliers as possible. Then once you have your options in, you've seen the samples, you know who's good, now we start the work of negotiation. And the first thing to understand is, what are the parts that my product's made up of? If it's a very simple item, there may not be very many parts. Let's say you're doing a notebook or you're doing a phone case. There's not many parts there. But if you're doing something a little bit more complicated, let's say a juicer, a blender, you're doing a kitchen set, by looking at the parts and the components and adding and removing things, you can ask the factory to break it down. Okay, so you've got a set of 5 kitchen accessories in a package. What does each one cost? By getting those breakdowns, you can then start to see how you can negotiate with the factory and cost engineer your product to hit the target prices that you need. The next thing to understand is the materials that the product could be made out of. Let's say you're doing a backpack. There's literally an infinite amount of materials that you could use. Just like nylon, there's thousands of millions of different types of nylon that you can use essentially. So what you want to do is understand what materials ideally you want to use for your product, and you can go to Amazon and look at what the competitors are using. You can go to the retail shops and see what real people are using, what retail other brands are using on their materials as well. And what you want to do is, when you're getting prices from the factory, is ask for prices for 3, 4, 5 different types of materials. You may find that the factory that was the cheapest for one material is more expensive for another, and another factory gives you a much better value with a different material. And changing materials doesn't mean changing the quality, because you can have it just needs to be good enough, as in you don't need to have Air Force military grade material for a school backpack, for example, right? It's just completely over the top, although that's a good selling point. If it costs $300 to do, there's no point doing it. It's a balance between functionality, quality, and price of the materials. But even then, you may find that a really good quality material, one factory might actually be cheaper for that than you expected with a lower quality material from another factory. It doesn't make sense, honestly. So if I got 20 quotes back for a backpack, there would be one for $2, one for $8, one for $6, one for $9, one for $2.50, one for $5. It's the same product, it's the same material, it's the same work, but everyone's different. Why? Because there's a lot of other factors that go into calculating that price on the factory side, like how much waste material they expect, how much labor hours per piece going in. There's like 50 different parts into a backpack. So it's important to understand that the prices don't really make sense at the beginning, and they even might not make sense towards the end. But by breaking it down into the parts, materials, and understanding the different options from the different factories, you can then pick and choose what works the best for you. So let's say I'm doing a phone case or a phone accessory, and then I've got 20 factories to quote to me. I've got 5 that have good quality, and then I'm asking for different material choices from each of them. What I'll find is that there'll be maybe, if I do it in PVC like this, it's going to cost me $1. But if I do it in TPU like that, it's going to cost me $2.50. I think I'm going to go with the PVC version because the quality's good and it has the effect that I want. You won't know these things until you start this discussion back and forth. The other thing to remember is other costs too, such as the, I don't know whether you're going to include any branding on there, any labels on there, any stitched in branding, laser etching, any setup costs, custom tooling. These are other things to find out when you're getting all these prices in. So negotiation at the beginning isn't so much actually, I want you to go to this price. It's more, let's get all the information in, all the options in for materials, suppliers, parts, other costs, and then you can see the whole picture, and then you can work back and forth. Another thing you might want to understand is the lead time too, because certain suppliers might say 3 months to get this product, and they're just too long, so you just take them off your list too. Or they may be unable to supply your product quickly when you need to restock into Amazon. That's why you don't really want them on your list too. Okay, so now that you've got all of this information in, then you can start the process of negotiation, and really a lot of the work's been done because you've looked at so many options, you have such a great understanding, you know roughly where you can pitch it. And what I always tend to do is, once I've got to a price and understanding with a factory for an item, let's say I'm doing a backpack, my 3 factories are quoted $4, $5, and $6 for this backpack, and the material is the same. You have to be quoting against the same thing for different people. The final thing I might do is wait a few days and then say, can you do it for $3.20? I have an order here ready for 2,000 pieces if you can do it, and then wait and see what they come back with. And you have to have that order ready. This is at the point where you're ready to go. You're not messing around now, so it's fair to the supplier. But by doing this, the salesperson has a sense of urgency. They'll go back to their boss, and you kind of squeeze out the last bit of juice from that price as well. So basically, they may come back to you and say, nope, $4 was our final price, we can't improve on that whatsoever. Or they may come back and say we can do $3.45, or the one that was $6 may come down to $4.20. But this kind of having the order in hand and being the last stage in the process can shave off price in there too. So what happens in between that though? So between actually having the order final and the materials, you also should go back and forth on the price for a few days at least, in the sense that you've got your price of $4, $5, and $6 for the backpack back from the factories. You can say to them, it's too expensive, I need to reduce the cost, my target price is $3.80. Do everything you can there, then wait, and then use the order method as a final way to push the price down further. But remember, if you go too low on the price in the sense that even though the factories agreed to $3.20, if they have another order from someone for $5, they'll make their backpack first and then yours. Your lead times may increase. So, in my opinion, negotiation with suppliers for your Amazon product isn't so much about these gimmicks and demanding lower prices. As I said, it's about options. If you have 20 suppliers quoting and you've got 10 different materials that you can choose from, you're already into hundreds of different options that you can choose from. And then you can select in the lower range that match your quality. And you already, really, by having more options for factories, you'll save more than negotiating with one factory. If you only got 2 or 3 quotes, then even if you get 50% off, you won't save as much as if you had 20 quotes from factories. So really, if you want to negotiate, do more work on the sourcing side, and then that way your price will be the best. And the more you understand about the materials, the more you understand about how the product's made and what the different parts and components cost, the more you can adjust the price together with the factory to get to a really good price overall. And I found that the same item can be, where I was quoted $3 or $4 from one factory, I've ended up buying it for 80 cents from another because of this kind of work of finding dozens and dozens of factories that can make it, and then finding the one that I feel I can work with. The quality is good, the material is good, the price is good, everything. So focus on that part of the business. Are you looking to grow your Amazon business? Zillionaire is the best Amazon metrics software. It has dozens of great features, including real-time profit and loss, inventory management, Amazon PPC ad optimization, custom dashboards, and much, much more. Head on over to zillionaire.com and sign up today. The link is in the description below.